Hello everybody and welcome to Macro Talk. It is Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, the 16th of September 2025, and this is Macro Talk. So today we're doing a delayed reaction Q&A. I'm cleaning up some old questions that came in, and I've got a couple of pages of them, and I haven't gone over them today. I've been too busy trying to fix the camera situation, which I don't know if I have or not. Is the picture sharp or am I blurry again? Don't know what it is. I've spent the whole weekend troubleshooting it, and gosh, I hope that this is the fix, at least for the time being. Let me know, if you could, whether or not the picture's any good, and the sound for that matter, if you can hear me too. Yeah, I've been going along oblivious to the fact that the picture was horrible, even though people have been telling me. Very embarrassing. Anyway, hopefully we're doing better now. Thursday, coins, part 2. This is going to be the actual how you photograph coins. This is going to be the one where I tell you the different workflows and discuss the various challenges that you will certainly encounter if you photograph coins. Saturday, after stack number 31, if you can believe it. We have done this 31 times and we only meet twice a month. That's over a year. It's 15 months, isn't it? Pretty good. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures because that is part of what After Stack is this month. Last month, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, you guys asked for me to submit 3 of my bad photographs so that you could edit them and make them look nice. And you added insult to injury by then suggesting that Bud and I could also edit these pictures to see which of us could make a bigger mess of it, I guess. So I'm going to show you the pictures. They're over in my Google Drive. I should have thought ahead and given Alistair the link to it, but it is in my blog post, which I posted about 10 minutes ago, so it's in there. And I'm going to show you the pictures because this is what all you guys that come to After Stack on Saturday are going to be editing ahead of time, hopefully, or while we're there, to see what you can do, to see how well you can pull these pictures out of retirement, so to speak. Let me see if I can find the darn things. I had them on my desk here. I'm going to show them to you in order, though. Let me find them first. What do you think of my diatoms there in the opening screen? That's the first ones I've got decent pictures of, which is nice. All right. This is problematic because they're not showing up. There they are. Okay, so the first picture is this little laddie. This is a little anole, a Carolina anole, and the picture's got so much wrong with it. There's so many distractions and, just a lot of nonsense going on. But at its heart, there is a decent picture in there. I know that because I edited this one before and I love the picture. But there's a lot to be taken care of. So that's the first one. The second one is much harder because it's kind of an abstract thing. And let me see if I can find it. It's a little teaspoon of garnet sand. These are little bits of garnet here, which is a red mineral. And the rest of these stones are a bit wet and shiny, and there's a lot of garbage in there. And this has been focus stacked. So there's some artifact in here as well. How can you make this look interesting and balanced and exciting? It's not easy. It's not easy at all. That's the second challenge. The third one is a little more traditional, and this is one of those shots that I took kind of as an afterthought. I didn't see this wasp until I was leaving, and I took it from miles away. It's a typhid wasp, a 5-banded typhid wasp, gorgeous little creature. They're very, very small, and they're very, very pretty. And this was one that was with a group of other ones, but I got him alone one time on this bud and got the photograph. So how are you going to make that look good? And I think that's one also that I did fairly decently with. So let's see what you can do. That's what we're going to do on Saturday morning. Anybody who's into post-production or macro photography, for that matter, come along and show us what you can do and explain how you did it and teach us something, because that's what this is all about. It's a conversation, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So some of these questions that are going to be coming up in a little bit were came out of recent live streams, stuff that I said that confused everybody probably, and I know that because I was told about a couple of the questions, though I haven't read them yet. So we're gonna see. This is going to be pretty scary, actually, answering questions that I haven't read yet. But what was the other thing I was going to tell you about? I'm not going to say anything more about the camera. It's either working or it's not, and probably something in the chat. So let me see. You'll notice I'm not in any hurry because I want to have a way to bail out of these questions if they're too hard. Let me see. Nope, everybody's still talking about macro rails, which is fine. That's the other thing we do here. So we're good. Sound is good, says Amy. Your face is still a little blurry. Is it because... Yeah, that's what it is. I didn't guess the distance right, and I didn't have time to do anything else. So, that's all right. You don't need to see my face anyway. It's a disgrace. All right, on Friday, the second Friday of the month, Harold Hall held the first recorded crystal art meeting, and it was a blast. We had a good time. We actually did more business than showing off crystals. We were still trying to work out the database, and we talked a little bit about retarder plates and that type of thing. But all in all, I think it's going to be a great a resource for anybody who's interested in photographing birefringent stuff. There's a lot of clever people in this group, and we had a good time. So you are welcome to come. It's free. And if you have any interest at all in making and photographing crystals, you need to be there. Now, I'm going to do something that I've never done before on this channel, and I want your help with it, please. I happen to know several people in our extended group who have published books, who regularly win prizes, big prizes from prestigious competitions. I know one young man who has a show ongoing right now out in the East, and it's a big, important show, and his photographs are featured there. And I know a lot more of you are doing stuff like this. You're winning prizes, publishing things, having gallery shows. I want you to tell me about it. I want you to write to me an email through the Walls app and tell me what it is you're doing. I'm not going to embarrass you, but I am going to talk about you. So I might embarrass you, but I'm not planning on doing so. I would like to call out the people who are doing great stuff in the macro community. Don't know why I haven't done it earlier, but yeah, don't be shy. If you just won a prize, let me know, or let somebody else know, and they can tell me. Or if you know about it, tell me, and I'll find a way to work that into an interesting conversation and show you some pictures of what's going on. Okay, so the questions. You are absolutely free to ask me any questions you want during this hour. You can ask me about anything. It can be nothing to do with photography. It can be to do with my many hobbies or other interests. Anything, you name it. I'll try to answer it. And as we go, I'll stumble through these written questions and see if I can answer any of them. Put my name in your question so that I can see it. It'll pop up on the screen for me, like Zeno just did. Should Lester's LRC single folder philosophy also be done at the computer file structure level? I will ask Zeno. I will ask Lester that, because honestly, he lost me. I wasn't paying close attention. I was trying to deal with the electronics. But yeah, I'll ask him. I spoke to him at the weekend and thanked him for coming, and he was great. That's going to be out, by the way, as a video. Lester Lefkowitz was here for the Zoom meeting, and he talked for 2 hours about file management, Lightroom, and he did so with so much class and style and humor. He was really good, and I was absolutely held in rapt attention the whole 2 hours. So I'm going to release that as a video because I think everybody should see that. It shouldn't just be us VIPs, so to speak. So we're going to wait another week or so, and then I will edit it and publish it so you can all see it. If you couldn't make it, or if you're not a Patreon supporter, I wish you were though. It would make my life better, definitely. You recently talked about HDR in macro photography. Well, I did last week, actually. When is HDR genuinely helpful, and when does it just make the workflow unnecessarily complicated? That's a loaded question, because HDR in macro photography is virtually never useful. It's virtually never worth the effort or the time. Seeing as it's something we don't practice and do a lot, the results can be very patchy. The only time I would think about it would be in the studio if I had a really difficult subject and I was trying to, let's say a dragonfly in the studio with wings out, and I wanted to get a real portrait of it. I wanted to get the wings transilluminated from behind, but in doing so, everything else is going to be in shadow. It'll be overwhelmed by the backlighting. In that case, I may shoot two brackets or two shots in one bracket, one where the wings are exposed, one where the head and the body are exposed. and blend them together the way you would any other HDR. But beyond that, I've read all kinds of comments from people who do use it, and I've not really found an instance where using it is any more advantageous than using careful light positioning and excellent diffusion and all the things we talk about for light control. In the studio, you control all the light. There really shouldn't be that many instances where the subject you have has such a high dynamic range that you need to do something like HDR to capture it. It doesn't make a lot of sense because we can do everything we want here in the studio with light. That's why they call it the studio. Now, if you're outdoors, you can't do it because it's just these are the worst subjects. Small, fast-moving things that are never in the same place for 2 consecutive shots. They just don't make for very good HDR. Maybe if they were asleep. I probably shouldn't say this, thing as I've turned over a new leaf when it comes to insects, but as I was walking back into the house last night, there was a green, whatchamacallit, on my door, a praying mantis. And I decided to give it a place to rest for the evening, put it in a jar with holes in it. And he's still alive and thrashing around and looks fairly miserable, but I want to photograph him. That was apropos of nothing. I just haven't ever had a live praying mantis to photograph before. Okay, in Thursday's stream, you showed how a wasp can look like a ballerina. Well, I did, didn't I? Yes, I probably got that picture too. Let me see if I can put my hands on it. I did, because it's one of my favorite pictures. That's why I showed it. Let me see. I had so many pictures, though, didn't I? I didn't get to all of them. But, I'll find it, and let me see if I can read the rest of this as I go. Where in the heck is it? I had 100 pictures picked out for that talk. Do you think anthropomorphizing our subjects, that's we macro photographers doing that, is helpful in engaging viewers, or does it risk distracting from the science? Well, that's actually a good question. It's one I touched on in the talk. Yes, it does risk separating the science from the flashy art, and I'm probably one of the worst offenders here, because I love to take photographs that surprise and delight the audience. And this one certainly surprised and delighted me when I first saw it. I think it's a really pretty picture. If you haven't seen it, you shortly shall shortly. Let me find it. It's just a very, very teeny tiny wasp, a little ichneumon wasp that I captured in a net back when I was doing that kind of thing. And by the time I got the thing fished out of the alcohol, it was in rigor mortis, really, and it had its legs in a very odd position. But it looked to me, under the microscope, like you could say it was dancing. It looked like it was in the middle of a prancing ballet move. So I shot it that way, and I shot it against a background that looked more like a stage prop than anything else that you'd ever find in nature. And I rather enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it. I still like looking at it. Of course, you would too if you could see it, but apparently I don't have it in this huge file. How awful. I'll try to find it and show it to you later. As soon as I can, I'll put it in the next blog post. I don't know how I lost it. It was my main picture to show you guys. Anyway, yes, I think that we run a risk. We run a risk whenever we use a trick like that to make people want to connect with a subject in a photograph. We give them human qualities that they don't actually have. And that, almost by definition, takes away the insect qualities that they do have, and it kind of blurs the border. Now, I'm not saying that people see my photograph, my photograph of this wasp, and they're suddenly going to believe that ballerinas are wasps and vice versa. It's nothing so silly. It's just that it does distract from wondering about the species, about the insect. Is this an endangered species? Where do they live? What is their habitat like? And if we kind of distract from that, then part of what I do this for is to make people more aware of what's going on in the world with our insect populations, which are in big trouble, really big trouble. So obviously, I've totally lost this picture. So I won't be showing it to you. Isn't that irritating? I thought I had everything at my fingertips, but I don't. Okay, so next question. How do you decide when to use a microscope objective versus a conventional macro lens for extreme close-ups? That is one of the easier questions I think that I'm going to get out of this, because it's simply a number. There are very few circumstances under which I will use a camera lens or an enlarger lens or an industrial lens to shoot photographs over 3.5 times magnification, for the simple reason that there is a better tool for that job, and it's a good microscope objective. It is designed to magnify the subject more and to do so with less problem from diffraction. These are the ideal lenses for taking photographs of really small things when your magnification's over about 3 times. Now, I love using a reversed EL Nikkor enlarger lens, or a lot of other process lenses for that matter. They're a lot of fun and they give you a lot of flexibility. But when you get that bellows stretched out to 200 millimeters and you're up to 4.5 times magnification, if you're really critical about the photograph, you'll see that that's a problematic amount of magnification to have with a lens that really isn't, well, I'm going to say isn't made for that. It is made for that when it's not reversed. It's made for enlarging to that scale, but it's not corrected for taking photographs of really small things. And that's why I have microscope objectives as low as 4x. I don't have any of the 2s. If I did, I'd probably use it. But I'm comfortable using a camera lens or a more standard focusing lens up to about 3 or 3.5. Above that, there's just no reason for me to use anything but a microscope objective. They simply do a better job. That's the whole point. You've experimented with a lot of stacking rails. What's the one feature you wish every rail on the market had? Well, there are two. I wish every rail that was produced in this modern age came out with included an intuitive touchscreen controller that had the same kind of functionality that the gorgeous controllers from I'm blanking on the name of my favorite controller. You know who I'm talking about, and it'll come to me in just a second. When you have a controller that is so intuitive and so easy to use and lets you do everything you ever wanted to do with a rail with that, without having to read the manual or look for the hidden ways into the deep menus to change things that you'd like to be able to do more directly. Yeah, that's what I think every rail needs. If I was helping somebody design a rail, NovaFlex, thank you. If I was helping somebody design a rail, I would spend as much time on that controller piece and making it intuitive as I possibly could, because the rail is the rail. It's a linear actuator. It's a screw that drives a sled. But that's the second thing that I wish they produced these devices with a connector arm that was actually part of the rail, so that you didn't have to add on a piece, and there was no user error could creep into it, but a fixed bar that could drive a platform separate from the rail. In other words, you could use the rail to drive an outrigger platform like I have, which is a big slab on linear bearings. It removes all of the motion artifact and the motion distraction that can spoil deep stacks. And I wish they all just did that, because I think more and more people would use it, and photography would get easier and better. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at any of my focus stacking videos from the last 2 years, and you'll see it. It's just a different way to move the camera where it's not sitting directly on the rail. And if we had a way that could be incorporated into the rails, I think that would be super cool. There's a third thing. If whoever designs them would come up with a better way to put holes in the bottom so that there's no danger of you screwing a screw up into the lead screw of the rail. They need to protect that somehow, put them on the sides, something like that. That's too much information, isn't it? What do you think the most misunderstood concept in focus stacking is? Misunderstood concept. The most misunderstood thing about focus stacking is that it's difficult or magical. It's nothing of the sort. It's really quite straightforward. It gets scary looking when you have hundreds and hundreds of photographs, but it's really pretty straightforward, and it's the same routine for big stacks and little stacks. But that's not really what you were asking, was it? What is the most misunderstood concept? The concept of retouching, because it's, to me, the single most important part of focus stacking is how you take the outputs from your focus stack, which may be a single Pmax and a single Dmap, a single pyramid output and a single depth map output. Now, the algorithms that these programs use create problems with the image from the stacking of a different nature. In the Pmax image, you'll have some foreground transparency sometimes, and you can have issues with surface texture and color. And sometimes the image can be a little bit over spiked with contrast. Yet with the DMAP, the depth map, oftentimes you'll see things like the halos that form around foreground parts. And some of it can be very distracting and ugly. There are all kinds of different artifacts that show up with DMAP. So what I spend most of my time teaching people who are new to focus stacking is not how to order the photographs and how to instruct the device to align them and then stack them. That's pretty basic. I mean, that's a 10-minute lesson. But it's in how you take those two outputs and take the best parts from each to create the best image you possibly can from the outputs that you have. Sometimes it means you have to go and get other outputs. You have to restack parts of your image to get rid of some type of artifact. But retouching is basically taking pixels from one output source, or an input source for that matter, that's been aligned, and moving those pixels onto another picture. So if you have a picture that has, because it's a DMAP, it has some halo around an antenna. And then the PMAX image, the same photographs when they're stacked using that algorithm, doesn't have a halo. It's nice and sharp on the edge. So what you would want to do would be to paint those nice sharp pixels from the PMAX image directly onto the same area of the DMAP, so it would cover up the artifact and replace it with something better that's still the same photograph. Understanding that and all the intricacies of that and how to do a retouching process in the right order to make sure you get as much of the improvement as you can is poorly understood. And if you don't understand the basics of why one image has better features in one regard and the other is the opposite, then you won't know where to even begin to retouch. And I'll see people just basically copying artifact out of one picture and putting it on another. It's worth learning, and it's worth learning well, because it's what separates the are you allowed to say the men from the boys in this day and age? I don't know. It seems like it would be problematic. I better not say that. It's what separates people who know how to retouch from people who don't. It does make a humongous difference in the final output. I've gone on too long about that, but that's what I think. Can you explain why color management is such a big deal in macro photography, and especially for printing? Yes. In macro photography, usually our subjects are small. And when you have small subjects where some of the coloration in the insect is maybe from natural pigmentation, oftentimes it's not. It's from interference coloration, where structures in the cuticle or the outer lining of the insect are spreading light in different ways to create colors on our retinas. That makes for a very compelling argument that a given tiger beetle is blue with orange spots, but it might actually not be that color. And sometimes capturing interference lighting color from the lighting choice will leave you with results that don't look at all like the actual insect in life. Also, really, whenever you photograph anything really small, you run the risk of losing some of the natural look of the colors. There's also a weird thing that happens with human beings. It's maybe not weird, but human beings judge the realness of things oftentimes by their color. And it's very easy for a beetle that is metallic pink and blue and with red polka dots on it has a hard time convincing a human brain that it's actually real. So color becomes really important in that it can make your subject look less real than it is, and that's something you need to think about. We love the color, and it's not uncommon to get disappointed in a photographic output because we weren't taking into account the various different ways that color can change when we record it. Now, one of the other things I'd say about color is that printing makes everything worse. Printing complicates everything, partly because of the different color space that you print in, partly because there are colors that appear in your photograph that may not have an accurate counterpart in the print lab. So it is not at all unusual to have colors that come out of a macro photograph that don't look anything like the way you saw them on the computer when you were processing them, which makes it so crucial that for doing any kind of insect photography with colored insects, you need to have properly calibrated computer screens. You need to use ICC profiles to print so that you're getting the most aligned and realistic color representation. And you need to use soft proofing in your software so that you can actually see a computer simulation of what the color is going to look like before you send it off to make a ginormous print, which I have been doing lately, and I've got a lot of relearning to do. So there are a lot of reasons why color is more important. And honestly, color is one of the hardest things to wrap your head around in macro photography. And you know that when you see people setting up their studio on the kitchen table with a couple of old bendy arm IKEA lights, which are basically yellow LEDs, maybe a daylight LED bulb, and a flash. That's not a good example. There'd have to be like a tungsten or a fluorescent thing in there too. But when you're using mismatched colors with macro subjects, you can get some of the most shockingly unrealistic and inaccurate photographs. And sometimes, until you take the time to learn how gaps in wavelength in a given color of light can make your insect look completely different, it can be very frustrating. I know a lot of people who've almost quit macro photography because they couldn't get a print to look any good. I was one of those people, I think. All right. What is the strangest or most exotic lens you've ever used in your work, and did it live up to the hype? This is a little bit embarrassing, but I'm gonna explain it anyway. I have not used any exotic, expensive, rare, strange lenses. I used an old Lomo lens from Russia one time, and I have a Canon lens that is so radioactive I have to keep it in a metal box because it's made of radioactive glass. I guess that would be strange, but it takes terrible pictures. So yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't call it an exotic. I have friends, a lot of friends actually, who have process lenses like printing Nikors. And I know folks on this in this group right here who have Magiro float lenses and other exotic manufacturing and inspection lenses, industry lenses. These things are rare and they're expensive. I don't think, when people ask me what camera should I buy for macro photography, I tell them it doesn't matter. Get whatever camera you want, but pay attention to the lens you're getting. And that may have given people the impression that the lens is the most important part of taking good macro pictures. It's absolutely not. The most important part is what's going on between your ears. It's how you're composing the shot, how you're lighting the shot, the story you're telling with the shot. That can all be done with cheap kit lenses. It can all be done with $100 reversed 50mm prime lenses. It can all be done with $19 4x microscope objectives from Amscope. You can get great pictures with any of that glass. But the thing is, if you aren't paying attention to the way you're composing a shot, if you're not paying attention to the way your beetle's feet are actually turned around 180 degrees in an unnatural pose, it doesn't matter what lens you have. The pictures are going to suffer. So I tell you this, I haven't used any of these super expensive, gorgeous, interesting lenses. I want to, and maybe one day I will, but I'm not kidding myself that they're going to be up to the hype. And maybe they will, but I don't think I'm a good enough photographer to know that. A lot of the people who have these lenses that I know are good enough photographers, and they can tell it. But yeah, I think that, as a photography instructor and a champion and entertainer for this stuff, it's a little less important that I know my way around these exotic lenses. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to try them. So send me one if you have one, and there you go. I'll give it a try, and I may send it back. All right. I've shown a lot of interest in photographing seeds recently. Well, yeah, not that recently, in the last couple of years, I suppose. What makes seeds such an appealing subject? Well, what's not appealing about seeds? I'm looking for my Nikon Small World calendar that I had behind the desk, and it's moved. I don't know how it could have moved. I'm the only one that would move it. It's got a seed in it from our very own Alison, and it's gorgeous. I love photographing seeds because, to me, they're a complete surprise. I've gone through my life having literally no interest in what a seed looks like. I mean, I just know they're little bitty things that get stuck in your teeth. But I'd never looked at them, never paid any attention to them. And then I discover things like the portulaca seeds that I love to photograph, and the poppy seeds even. There are so many incredible seed forms, and they're all new to me, so that I have to learn how to photograph each of them as a new challenge. And that's what I love in macro photography is learning something new. And there are other reasons I like seeds. They don't walk away or take to the wing halfway through photographing them. You can usually buy about 1 million of them for a couple of pennies in case you drop some of them. They're easy to deal with. You stick them on the end of a toothpick and you can photograph them all day long. But they're stunningly gorgeous. And if Alison ended up in the winner's circle at the Nikon Small World competition with a photograph of a related seed, then it's not child's play. This is serious business. Get some seeds and photograph them. There are people who do nothing but that. I would imagine they'd be pretty boring people, but there you go. To each his own. Photographing seeds is fascinating, and I've got bunches of them, and I'll go in cycles of getting intrigued by them again, and I've got some interesting ones I probably will start looking at here soon. So that's why I love seeds, and that's why you would love them too if you tried them, so give it a shot. Was that a decent answer? I hope so. Do you ever find yourself prioritizing the wow factor of an image over accuracy, or do you always try to balance both? I always prioritize the wow factor. Yeah, I'm a photographer. I used to be a scientist, and then I was pretty big into accuracy and didn't care too much about wow factors. But now what I aspire to do is take gorgeous pictures that people will look at and either say or at least think, wow, that's gorgeous. Yeah, that's the way I communicate with people through my photographs, is by focusing on the wow factor. Now, one of my very best friends and a man who I respect incredibly is none other than Rick Littlefield, who you all know, the guy that invented Zerine. Rick likes it when his photographs come out pretty and people say, wow, that's a pretty photograph. But that's all. I can't imagine he has ever taken a photograph where he allowed any accuracy to be traded for as much wow factor as you could get. He wouldn't do it. It is all about function and form and accuracy and scientific rigidity in how he shows his subjects, which I respect a tremendous amount, but it's not why I take pictures. I don't take them to document the world. I take them to communicate with other people about the world, and that's easier for me to do if the picture says wow in some way. I hope that didn't just upset the person who asked that. There was kind of a loaded question. Or do you always try to balance both? I think that would have been the correct answer. Yes, I always try to balance both, but I don't. You'll see some of my favorite photographs of weevils where the weevil only has 5 legs because I accidentally pulled one of them off. But it was a gorgeous weevil, and I'm not gonna not photograph it because one of his legs fell off. You get the point? I think you do. Okay. If you could design one piece of macro equipment from scratch, what would it be and why? You must be a new person that has just joined the channel, because I design a new piece of macro photography equipment every 15 minutes and make it from scratch. Just about everything in here is made that way. Oh, I'm sorry. If you could redesign. Okay, now I have to think about that. What piece of macro equipment is rubbish that would be better if I redesigned it? I was thinking of this question completely backwards. Can I come back to this one, number 10? Who asked this? Let me think about that some more. I'll loop back to that in the end. We've got a few minutes left. What is your opinion on AI tools in macro photography? Are they a genuine aid to the creative process or just another gimmick? This is a work in process for me. I have been equally amazed and disappointed and irritated by the AI tools that are available now. I don't think it is anything like as magical and earth-shattering as it was painted initially. I think it's a very fancy, very clever, very capable search engine that has some additional functions that it can do. I spend more time correcting my AI programs for the mistakes they make than I do using the information they give me. So I really don't trust them very much anymore. Now, the tools for use in macro photography, okay, that's one of those exceptions where I think the proof is in the pudding. The AI tools that are using actual learning algorithms for the program to recognize things as, for example, insect hairs, and then be able to recreate them in your retouching or in some other program within the editor. That's pretty important. Generative fill, for example, taking something that's got a tree in front of it and removing the tree and having it recreate what was in there. This is new. This is artificial intelligence. They couldn't do it before that. If you may remember trying using some of the tools that we had available to us back in the dark ages 3 years ago. But yeah, I think there is plenty in macro photography that is not gimmick at all, and it's here to stay. Absolutely here to stay. Now, I also believe that these days, like I made some Mitutoyo hoods to use to keep the sun out of my Mitutoyos. And if I was going to sell these on the open market, I would call them AI enhanced or something like that, because that's the way that kind of rubbish goes. Everything is AI. Everything you look at is somehow made better by AI, which is rubbish, of course. But if you're talking about things like Topaz, yeah, or Photoshop, yeah, definitely. And it does aid the creative process. It gives me the tools to do things I couldn't do before, and I love that. You've mentioned you sometimes build your own lighting rigs. What's the advantage of DIY lights over commercial ones? What do you mean, build my own rigs, like make the filaments that go in the bulb? I don't do anything like that. But I build rigs on my macro platform, kind of just by using panels of LEDs. I don't think that's I don't think there is an advantage over commercial. I think the commercial ones are fine. When I do that, it's usually because I've got a whole bunch of LEDs that are sitting there doing nothing, and I want to try them out for something, like when I made a light tunnel using LEDs. So yeah, no, I don't think there's an advantage over the. In fact, there's a disadvantage to the homemade ones, because unless you know about LEDs, you make all kinds of mistakes early on and fry a lot of them, and that's definitely disadvantageous. So I'd say no. I wouldn't even suggest somebody who knows what they're doing spend a whole lot of time creating lighting rigs. There are too many good, cheap, reliable alternatives out there, starting with the incredible $100 MF12. I don't know. I don't use flash as much as I used to. I use continuous light almost exclusively now. But it'd be hard to make an argument that there was anything better than that for lighting macro. So yeah, I don't think building your own is probably worth it in the long run. That stuff's just too cheap. Now, depending on what happens with things that used to be cheap that are no longer cheap, that might change. But yeah, you often speak about innovation and invention in macro photography. What's the difference, and why does it matter? Well, why would you ask me a hard question like that at the very end of this thing? Innovation is taking an existing idea and coming up with a creative or new way to implement it or to use it to improve an already existing system, usually. That's what I think of as innovation. It's a new way of using stuff that we already have. Invention is making something new where nothing lived before. There was nothing, and then there was a ballpoint pen. Actually, this would be a good example of innovation, because I'm sure that the gel ink or something would be an invention, but this is an ongoing innovative process of using the tools that we used to have and making them better and better and better by changing materials and that type of thing. So I don't do a lot of innovative stuff. And I'm wondering if I've really got that as tight a description as I mean, because I don't invent either. I don't think these days hardly anybody invents anymore. We're building on the experience of the people that have gone before us. I made a gadget this weekend that I'm so excited about that has nothing to do with macro photography, but it was as close to invention as I think I've ever got. And then I went online and I saw a picture of this same thing that somebody had built decades ago, and I didn't know about it, so I just reinvented it, and that's okay. It's still a really exhilarating process. But I would add that I couldn't have done any of this, innovation or invention, especially in the macro world where things have to be pretty precise, was it not for my friendship with Larry. Larry, as you know, is the host of Tangent, our 3D modeling get-together. It's just a once-a-month thing where we talk about inventing stuff and how we use the tools that do that. And he walked me through how to get going with Fusion 360, and that opened up an entire universe of creativity for me, more than anything else that I've ever done. So in addition to the incredibly generous and anonymous benefactor who bought the 3D printer for the studio, and Larry's time in showing me how to use it, that's been incredible. If you don't dabble around inventing stuff, you're missing one of life's great pleasures. You really are. But some people, I get it, they're not into that. All right, two more. A personal one. Has your background in surgery influenced the way you approach macro photography? My background in surgery has influenced the way I do everything, as you would expect. If you'd done something for most of your adult life and you trained to do it for 15 solid years, it would influence everything you do, the way you look at things and think about things. I consider myself a scientist still because I believe in data and you know, I understand all of the laws that govern how we do things. But I can't imagine being any other way. So I can't see that it's influenced my approach to macro photography, because I learned macro photography in the operating room. I learned to use a camera to photograph interesting things on my patients that needed to be documented. So I had to learn how to do close-up photography with film while sterile, dressed for the operating room. And yeah, it was difficult, and that's where I first learned how to do all this stuff. But I don't think my background as a surgeon changed it any more or less than it changed everything else in my life. I'm a better driver because of that. I'm a better father because of that. And probably I'm a better photographer because of that. Probably not very patient because of that too. So yeah. I can't answer that question. It's too difficult. Last one. You've worked with many guest judges in your competitions. Yes, I have. Have their perspectives ever completely changed the way you see an image? Ooh, that's a loaded question. The thing is, almost every judge that I've worked with is so generous of mind and heart. They probably wouldn't push to change the way I saw something, even though they. Oh well, let me go back to Rick, because yeah, Rick has completely changed the way I see stereo imagery completely, because I still don't understand how he sees a lot of the stuff that he sees. So I have been training myself to follow these visual cues better, and I never did that. So I'm sure I'm seeing those images differently. And come to think of it, I don't photograph blossoms or flowers the same way I used to. So, you know, having Angie show me how to evaluate a flower photograph, yeah, that's changed the way I do that too. So probably the true answer is, yeah, everybody I've worked with has changed the way I do that part of the job. But these are incredibly difficult questions, especially the last two. What was the one I asked for some time on? Because I've got 3 minutes left. Redesigning one piece of macro equipment, what would it be? What do you think? Give me a clue. Is there a material advantage for a light orthoplan polarizing microscope versus a Wild Leica M420 stereo microscope in birefringent photography? I have never used the Lights orthoplan, so I wouldn't know. But one of them is a polarizing compound microscope. One of them is a stereo zoom microscope. And I would absolutely believe that you're going to get the best results from the compound microscope. Is Joseph here? Look right behind you, Harold. Joseph's over your right shoulder. Ask him what he thinks. Yeah. That's a good question. I need to look that up. I almost bought a Lights orthoplan polarizing scope that was on sale. Would this be any good as a tube lens? Asked Alistair. I have to click on it. Let's see if it opens. A Canon 200mm f4 manual focus portrait lens. Yeah. It would absolutely be worth a try. I've got one of those. I have got one of those in my box of rubbish lenses. I think so. All you need for that relay is a lens that has a focal length of 200 millimeters. And, if you can focus the thing at infinity and slap your objective on the end of it, I would go with the as close to the front element as you can get it. The problem is going to be where the pupils are in the lens. Of course, in a macro lens, the setup is very different. The lens elements, and I think there's probably a reason that the micro Nikkor 200 millimeter f4 is such an astonishingly good tube lens. But definitely, it's worth a try. All you need is a 67 millimeter adapter on the front of it. I'll tell you what, if you don't want to risk it, I'll buy this one because it looks better than mine, and we'll try it out. It looks completely clean on the inside. Yeah, I think it'll work great, and if it doesn't, sell it to me. You know what it would be great for if you didn't use it as a tube lens. You could use it as the body of a telecentric lens. I think. Yeah, you could slap a macro lens on the front of it. Anyway, we're out of time, thank goodness. That was quite difficult. And I never did find the my dancing wasp, so you'll just have to take my word for it that I had that picture. Let me see. Before I go, if I could find it, that would be nice. No. So how's everybody doing? That would be less rude of me, would be to go back to the chat and say hi to Joseph, David. David, I hope you got my email earlier today. Thank you so much for everything you do, and please don't stop doing it. Really, it's very cool what you're doing, and don't worry about that other chap. David Brown, a local bank. Good answer to the question. Joseph, I don't know either. Generally, stereoscopes are awkward for birefringent work. They don't have strain-free optics, and they're hard to light. There you go. I think that makes good sense. The FD adapter will cost you more than the lens. Probably so. That lens was listed in the UK, so the shipping would be as much or more than the lens. Yeah, you don't want to buy lenses in Europe unless you're in Europe. Boy, I bought one a while ago and got stuck with a lot of duty on that. Boy, I wish I'd seen. I wish I'd seen some of these notes earlier. I'll read through them, guys, and if there's something I need to address, then I will get back with you on Thursday. And David's also showing the same 200 millimeter lens earlier on in the discussion, so it's a popular lens. Do yourself a favor, save up and get the old manual 200 millimeter micro Nikkor before the autofocus. You can probably get it for the same price, and that is a beautiful relay lens. Or go out and get a nice dinner and buy a Raynox with the change. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming tonight and listening to me ramble on. I hope we're close to having the audio-visual nonsense stabilized. And I'll work on focusing on my head a little bit better. I just can't stand it when it does the autofocus searching when I'm trying to concentrate. So have a great week, and I will see you on Thursday. If not, then I'll see you on Saturday. Please come on Saturday if you're into post-production. It's going to be a good discussion and a lot of fun. Now you've seen the pictures, so you can be ahead of everybody else. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Bud. And I will see you guys again on Thursday. Good night.